Well, welcome back. We've had another extremely busy night on the phones here, I'm very pleased to say. A lot of information has been coming in particular on the murder of Sheila Agner and also on the Tesco case. Nick.
Let's start with that. It was an appalling crime in which a family in Colchester was held hostage for 18 hours or so by men armed with shotguns. The husband, who's the manager of Tesco's in Ipswich, was then ordered to steal from his own store.
Keep your heads down. 6-4. Everything's okay. We're in. Is it quiet out there?
Malcolm Hargreaves, you seem to have been inundated with calls. How good have they been?
We've had a fantastic response. Over 200 calls distributed between here and Essex Police Headquarters. We can't say that at this stage what the results will be. We've got a tremendous number of inquiries to do in relation to the vehicles, possible identities of the offenders, everything. We're expecting a really good result.
Good. The gun itself, somebody thought that that's the shotgun which had been recovered might be one that they could identify.
Yes, a man has telephoned. He hasn't given his name, but he seems to think this gun was in the north of the country at the end of 1990 and the beginning of 1991. We'd be grateful if that man would phone us again.
And I know you've had one caller which has perhaps linked this with an offence you didn't know about, a rather similar offence some time ago.
Just a few minutes ago, my Essex colleague took the call from a man who is, having seen the video fits, is saying that he, in fact, was the victim of a kidnap offence committed by the same person.
OK, well, we'll see what happens with that. Sue?
Well, let's see now if anybody's recognised this man. This is the model that's been painstakingly reconstructed from remains found on an abandoned rubbish tip near Birmingham. It's thought that the victim would have died sometime in 1975. And Chief Inspector Ian Johnson's been taking calls. What sort of response have you had?
Yes, quite a number of calls here, and I've checked with the incident room, and they're coming in thick and fast there as well. We've had one call which has recognised the face and also says that they had identical clothing to go with it, so that's quite hopeful.
So if they're putting those things together, that does sound very hopeful.
Yes,
indeed.
very hopeful indeed.
Just to look at these clothes again, they are quite distinctive. They go back to 1975. The BBC costume department has put together replicas. This is the shirt with the distinctive bumblebee design, and these are the trousers. Again, 1975 flared trousers with turn-ups. If you recognise those. Let's have one more look at the man and how he may have looked in 1975 with his various hairstyles.
Yes, I'd like to remind everyone that this is a murder inquiry, and if they feel they recognise this man, to please give us a telephone call.
Mr Johnson, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Let's see now what the response has been to photo call. Jackie, again, huge volume of calls, but two cases in particular look quite promising.
Yes, if you remember the first case of Keith Roberts and Alan or Walter Jones, one lives in Devon, one in Manchester. We've had an enormous response, over 50 calls, lots of sightings, and of the Larder Jeep that we mentioned. So there's lots of inquiries for the police to be getting on with. Perhaps good news next month. Good.
Peter O'Brien, the accountant, he's vanished. It looks like a great deal of money had disappeared as well. Obviously, police want to talk to him about that.
Yes, very quickly. Lots of sightings of him as well, and someone who may have worked with him recently called in, so that's a good call, and lots of background information about him. So again, we're very pleased.
Jackie, thanks very much.
Well, now the murder of Sheila Agner, who worked as a shop assistant in Nottingham. On Friday, the 26th of July, she was found dead in the shop. The till, containing just £250, had gone. Several witnesses remember seeing a scruffily dressed man carrying a heavy package that afternoon. And Malcolm Witt, have you been taking calls on this? What sort of calls have you had?
We've had a good response in the studio, an outstanding response back at Nottingham. Calls from the prison service with people who previous convictions have been rung through to us. People feeling that they know people with a mental history that may be connected to this offence, they've rung through also. And a similar offence in Lincolnshire committed last year, which we'll be exploring further tomorrow with the Lincolnshire police.
I know one particular call you've had has asked to see the artist's impression again, and they feel quite strongly they might be able to identify the man. If you could describe him for us again.
Yes, he's 40 to 50 years of age, scruffy, untidy appearance, weather-beaten features, a white man, 5'10", slim build, with this grey straggly hair.
Right, an age between 40 and 50.
That's right.
You do believe somebody does for sure know who this man is, don't
Yes,
you?
and it's that confidence that we want now to be disclosed to us, and we can take it forward from there.
Right, Mr DeWitt, there is a reward in this case. If you do know him, please do give us a ring.
Yes, please.
5 to midnight, still the phones are really busy here. Let's look now at the major crime in the tiny community of Guernsey. Lorne Nicola had come across from her home near Paris to improve her English. While out walking on a cliff-top path, she was attacked so violently. It's extraordinary that she survived. Richard Smith, at first it didn't look as though you were getting many calls, but you seemed pleased enough last time I spoke to you.
Yes, certainly calls are now coming in, and we've received in excess of 40 calls, both here and in Guernsey. Quite varied calls. We've had suggestions as to who the photo fit might be. We've even had suggestions as to who the person might be, named persons that is. And we've even had offers of videos and films which people are holding, and certainly we've got a lot of inquiries to do now into all the information that's coming in.
Videos are important, photographs are important if anybody took them in Guernsey around the 5th of August, because they might have this guy in the background. He was incidentally wearing sort of lemon yellow shorts down to the knee and
yes,
yellow top as
certainly
well.
videos and photographs are most important, because we would like to identify someone with this clothing, the yellow t-shirt and the yellow knee-length shorts, who may have been in the area at the time.
Okay, Mr. Smith, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, meanwhile, David's been sorting through the calls on incident desk. First of all, the robbery at the City Bank in London.
Yes, there were tremendous response, 33 calls on that one. Most of them have given names and addresses, and a number of those names and addresses are being checked out now because they look very promising. The officers are enormously pleased with the result they've had, and we should have a result on that one next month.
The drug squad in Norfolk were looking for somebody known as the Butler, or Mr. Butler.
That's right, yes, and again, Sue, 33 calls, just look at them. One of them in particular has given a snippet of information that ties in with what the team already know in the incident room. Usually those little snippets are the key that opens up the whole puzzle, and a number of those callers have also given the same name.
David, thank you very much so far. Sounds good.
Finally, did anyone recognise their own possessions here in Aladdin's Cave? Eric Knowles, what's been the response?
Well, quite a good response. In fact, we've got one lady who's firmly convinced that those three cavaliers once graced her home at one stage. The clock calls as far away as Lancashire and Devon. In fact, there's one chap who's so positive, he's actually rooting through his insurance papers as we're speaking.
It's quite a nice Georgian timepiece, too.
It is. The violin, just some extra information. It bears Tatra by Rossetti, Stradivarius model. Czechoslovakia, so we're talking 20th century. But it's got the additional information. MHS painted the initials on the end of the body there.
It's also got a number on it, I see.
Number 4.
For some reason.
My feathered friend has brought quite a definite response from at least one caller. But I'm amazed that nobody's phoned in about the C.F. Hurton vases. I have to tell you, if there's anything I could walk away with under my arms this evening, it would be this pair of vases.
The quality of that, when you think that all this beautiful colour was painted in something which didn't look like this at all until it was fired.
That's true. And I have to tell you that as a sufferer from hay fever, this is the best type of flowers that I could possibly have in my home.
Eric, thanks very much.
Well, that's it for this month. As always, we'll be back with more appeals and more news on these cases a month from now. The lines here to the studio are just about to close, but you can find all the police incident room numbers on your screen in just a few moments.
Meanwhile, as we always say, please don't have nightmares, do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.